guys, Ron here, and with all the hype surrounding legends and legendary Pokemon over the last few months, I think it's time to make some pre-evolved forms of iconic legendary Pokemon. It's a pretty easy concept to understand, so there isn't much to explain, so make sure to check out my previous Pokemon creation videos and consider leaving a like and subscribing if this is your cup of tea. But before I begin, all fans of my art series, listen to this. I'm going to start a separate series where I redesign your Fakemon. I want you guys to submit Fakemon designs of yours, and I'll pick a few to redesign in a future video. In order to participate, you have to follow me on Twitter, create a Fakemon on a white background, and tweet it out with hashtag TrueGreen7Redesign. Those are the 3 rules. Then I'll pick the ones with the most potential to redesign. I want submissions by fans who clearly have artistic skill and a good idea, but still need some help. So I won't pick designs that look just as good as mine, or, on the opposite side, look like they were made by a person who isn't passionate about drawing. Although I won't be too strict. I can't wait to see what you got. Let's begin with a solid idea of mine, a pre-evolved Darkrai. I want to try my best to not create pre-evolved forms that simply look like miniature versions of their evolved form. I want to introduce concepts that aren't in the evolved forms, but stem from the design and concept of the real Pokemon. So here's a good example. I want Darkrai to look like a nightmare version of the Prevo that I'm going to make. Almost like this pre-evolved form is a sleepy child who becomes distorted and nightmarish when it evolves. I'm going to take Darkrai's hair and turn it into a nightcap, and his body's going to be reminiscent of a nightshirt, or nightgown. Basically a look that modern people associate with Ebenezer Scrooge. So we're starting out with 3 segments like Darkrai, but a more pronounced belly like a child. The hair will look like a drooping nightcap, and he'll have these stubby feet modeled after Darkrai's long pointy feet. The dress will look like a nightgown, and he'll be yawning. The red mouth-like collar that Darkrai has will be part of this guy's nightshirt, but I wanted to simulate stripes of a pajama by elongating the pointy red parts Darkrai has, making it look sleepier and giving it fingers. Originally the entire face was going to be white, and I also gave it a spot on his cheek that looks like a tear, and it also complemented the spot on its belly that looks like a button. But once I gave it its colors, the head looked relatively empty, so I made it gray and gave it the dark bags under its eyes with some eyelash patterns so it looks less scary. Say hi to Dark Kawaii, the dreaming Pokemon, from Dark and Kawaii, cute in Japanese. It evolves into Darkrai when entering the dream world in a future Pokemon game. This Pokemon is constantly drowsy and will uncontrollably put those around it to sleep. The dreams Dark Kawaii puts you in always start out peaceful, but devolve into nightmares. Its own bad dreams wake it up in the morning. It rarely gets enough sleep. It is most active during the sunset when it looks for a comfortable place to sleep. Touching a Dark Kawaii while it's sleeping will cause its dream to attack you. Its daydreams can keep it company and protect it, but all Dark Kawaii wants is to make real friends. It has the ability Bad Dreams just like Darkrai, and I'd say this is a very successful design. It clearly looks like a Prevo of Darkrai without simply being a Darkrai with the proportions of a child. It looks like its own Pokemon, with new design elements that stem from its evolved form. This is exactly what I wanted to make. I'm happy. Now I want to make a pre-evolved form of the forces of nature. This is going to be a common Prevo like Tyrogue is to the Hitmons. I'm going to base it off the trope of angels that lie down on clouds and just observe from the sky. It's going to be this imp-like Pokemon that is still learning about life and will either become a force of good or a force of destruction. So its face is a circle, and its relatively buff arms are laying flat on top of the other on the cloud. It's supposed to be comfortable. Some pointy ears like its Evo's, and hair that is messy like a cherub's, but also modeled after Tornadus' hair. Its hair also resembles horns like a naughty imp, but also necessary since it doesn't have any actual horns like its evolved forms. Its mouth is very Oni-like, and its eyes are simply a less intense version of Landorus. It's on a tiny cloud. Now I'm just refining the design and shrinking the cloud. Added the patterns and one spot on the cloud to make it look less empty. This is the same spot on the abdomen of the forces of nature. I made it pink to denote a fairy typing, but also it looks more cherubic and different from the others. The pink color scheme idea became dated once Legends Arceus came out though. This is Latias, the observing Pokemon. It evolves into one of the forces of nature when exposed to a reveal glass in certain weather. This Pokemon is still learning about life and emotions. It floats around the region watching the actions of humans and Pokemon. It rarely interferes by helping those in danger, but from time to time it will play pranks on those it observes to be up to no good, and even manipulates the winds in favor of those it likes. It will often follow interesting humans and Pokemon and mimic their behavior without them knowing. Those that look up mistake it for a tiny cloud. It has the ability to generate powerful gusts that either clear the skies or cause storms. It has the abilities Serene Grace and Prankster. Even though the forces of nature are relatively unpopular, I'm sure most would find this Pokemon more appealing than the rest of its family. It's funny because I made this Pokemon literally a day before the new force of nature got leaked, but I think the pink still makes sense. I got the exact vibes I want from this Pokemon, so I'm very happy. An ugly type of cute. Mischievous but endearing. It's finally time to make a baby Rayquaza, since Rayquaza's concept is incredibly natural and solidified. I think its pre-evolved form will simply just be a tiny Rayquaza. I mean, most flying types start out as hatchlings and become bigger versions of themselves anyways. So I'm gonna give it some downy feathers and make it way less segmented, but the face will definitely be Rayquaza's, but cuter. Okay, so I'm starting by making a Rayquaza face that is more round and diminutive. The eyes are the same but bigger, the protruding crests are smaller, and the smile is still there but without the red gums. Its body is that of a tiny worm, and it only has one of those tubey segments, whatever they are, along with the tail, as if it's shedding from a smaller body. I gave it tiny arms with one claw. Now it's officially a lintworm. With those patterns, it looks too much like a Rayquaza, so now the job is to introduce new elements or cut out elements that Rayquaza already has. I gave it these downy feathers that it still has as a young hatchling, and took out the line patterns that connect to the rings. I made its feathers wider, like it's newly molted, and gave it lines on the shell segments to look like cracks. These will expand and separate when it evolves, as seen on Rayquaza. The final design will look even more baby-like in proportion, with a shorter neck, spike, and rounder face. Check out Pulsar, the sky Pokemon. From Pulsar, a rotating neutron star that emits light from its poles, and Array or Ray. It evolves into Rayquaza when brought to the top of Sky Pillar past level 30. Pulsar are covered in downy feathers that fall off when close to evolution. It absorbs ultraviolet light and can emit powerful beams from its rings. It spends most of its days consuming clouds and atmospheric particles. It often bullies Minior. This Pokemon is wild and reckless. It does not know what to do with its power, so it can be observed flying into wild flying Pokemon. It's a serious hazard for planes that enter its domain. However, since aircraft's reminded of its parent, it won't harm them. No one knows how this Pokemon was born. It was only recently discovered. It has the ability Cloud 9, which becomes airlock upon evolution. It was very tough to design a Prevo for such an iconic Pokemon. You instinctively want to use a lot of the famous parts Rayquaza has, and I didn't want to deviate too much from all the cool Rayquaza traits. Ultimately, giving this guy feathers is what made it unique, instead of just a mini Rayquaza. But in the end, it would look weird if its Prevo didn't feel like Rayquaza, cause then it wouldn't feel like part of this epic duo. Considering Latios and Latias are some of the few gendered legendary Pokemon, it feels like a baby version would be pretty appropriate. A tiny fusion of the two that is more round and cute. It'll eventually evolve into one of these two based on their gender. Since the Eon Duo's design is kinda based off jets, I mean not kinda, it pretty much is, I want to make my Latini based on small planes, light aircrafts like the Cessna 172. So we're basically making a necklace Latias or Latios. It'll have bigger eyes and a bigger smile. Its wings will be on top like a high wing airplane or a lot of older planes. Its tail will look like the tail of a plane, and I experimented with giving it a big nose to look like a propeller. I made its body shorter and face bigger to make it look smaller in general, and gave it the arms of its parents, but a bit more padded. Its wings will be extremely rounded, no sharp edges on this Pokemon. I wanted to look like a Playmobil toy plane that a toddler would play with. Rounder patterns compared to the deltas that Latios and Latias have, figuring out the proportions, giving it a purple color scheme. This was obvious from the start. I gave it two white spots that look like windows on a plane, and baby animals are usually more spotty and scruffy than their adult stages anyways. Say hi to Latini, the Eon Pokemon. Latini can be male or female and will evolve into either Latios or Latias when holding the Soul Dew on Southern Island. It's still learning to fly efficiently and will test its skill by performing loops in front of those it admires. Latini that can perform a barrel roll are ready for evolution. It can sense the emotions of others around it, so it will try to entertain those that are sad. A great deal of down feathers will fall off Latini when performing aerobatic maneuvers. Those feathers are highly reflective and can become invisible, but Latini does not know how to activate them yet. For this reason, Latini is constantly shimmering. Throughout history, these Pokemon would rarely interact with humans. It is said that the rare sightings of this Pokemon inspired the designs for the earliest of aircrafts. It has the ability to levitate, and I love the energy and general individual elements of this Pokemon a lot. It's basically what I wanted, but for some reason the perspective and proportions were really tough for me to solidify. It's cute and purple, and that's all that matters. And now it's time for a Xerneas pre-evolution. This one will be simple since fawns and bucks look pretty different. We're basically making a Bambi Xerneas without its horns. But I wanted to still emit light from the spots that the baby deer have, which is already alluded to in Xerneas' design. The horns shine light on its back that look like spots. It's literally just a mini Xerneas, but since Xerneas has no ears, we gotta put something on his head, so I elongated those cheek horns to make him look like ears, with some bumps on its head where the actual horns will sprout from. The rest of the body will start out as the body of a fictional fawn, then I'll add the patterns, basically a simplified version of all of Xerneas' details. The X-shaped pupils are a must, then the colors are literally Xerneas', but I'll make the blue more turquoise in the end. I added those glowing LED spots on its back, Hopefully it looks good in the final art. Behold, Xerneas, the vital Pokemon. The word Nexus refers to connections. It evolves into Xerneas at level 50 in a specific forest. This Pokemon wanders around sharing life force with calm creatures. It gives motivation to all it encounters. Xerneas are incredibly intelligent. They're not very trusting of humans, but will approach those who are alone or in trouble. The spots on its back light up in various colors. They'll occasionally use their light to guide lost travelers. They keep their distance as they help, and it can sense malice, so it's rarely in harm's way. It can turn off its light when hiding. If attacked, it will cause light to erupt from the ground, tearing up the earth and slowing down the enemy. This is the most official looking of the 5. It turned out amazingly. It looks like both a baby Xerneas, but also its own Pokemon. I was so proud of it, I shared it with a bunch of other Pokemon YouTuber friends, right after I made it. If you enjoyed, please leave a like if you want part 2, and check out the previous Creating New Pokemon videos, and go to the description for the t-shirts I made for you guys, my Patreon where you can get cool rewards like seeing my videos days early, which you can also do by pressing the join button, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram where I post previews of my art and completed pieces. Bye!